And welcome to House of Cult. My name is Alessandro, and with me, as always, is Ariel, the owner and founder of the Pretty Cult. And today we are super honored to be welcoming Ohio-based atmospheric doom metal outfit Frayle, who are gearing up for the release of their third studio album, Heretics Lullabies, which drops on October 10th via Napalm Records. Lots of exciting stuff to talk about. How are y'all doing today?
Fabulous. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been like a kind of unseasonably gloomy day here in LA, and it's been very well. We've been really needing it, I feel like, for a while.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, good.
Are y'all in the Cleveland area right now?
Yeah, we're in Cleveland. It's a little warm for me right now, but we'll
It's
deal.
it's like high 70s. It's not that
Yeah.
low.
Okay, yeah, I would like do anything for high 70s right
Yeah.
now.
Pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
But I feel I'm a cold weather girl too. My husband has asked what is your he goes, if your preem temperature, what could it be? I said nothing over 68.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
That's it right
Yeah.
Yeah.
there. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm from Seattle, so literally I'm just not even used to seeing the sun this much. This is too much for me. But yeah, obviously Heretics and Lullabies is dropping in just a little bit less than a month now. What's sort of been on your guys' mind, the most as this release date is sort of approaching? And, how are you sort of already feeling about the early positive response, to tracks like Walking Wounded and also your cover of Lana Del Rey's Summertime Sadness? It seems like there's been a lot of energy and warm reception so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're pretty stoked on it. We just got back. We were in Europe for, I think, 3 weeks. We got back a few weeks ago, and now we're kind of we're a new-ish, babyish band with like giant booking agents. So we're kind of like the last to know when like the next thing's going to happen. So I think we might be going out in the US in the near future, and then we might be going back to Europe, but we don't know yet. So we just kind of get ready and plan for that. And then if it doesn't happen, then we just don't go. But the feedback has been incredible so far. Like our manager texted us yesterday and said that we debuted it in the top 10 on US radio for metal and alternative, and we've never been on a chart before, so I don't yeah, we don't know what that means. So I guess we're stoked on that. But it's been great because we feel like this record's like finally us coming into our own, and it's amazing to see the response be so positive from both like old fans and then a lot of new fans too. It's been awesome.
For sure. I mean, yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head, like, saying that it feels like you guys have sort of come into your own on this record. Because I feel like, listening back to a lot of the new music, it does feel like you have struck a real balance with this time between the heaviness and the more like ethereal, beautiful, like melodic parts. And then additionally, like there's really catchy hooks on this album, which is, sometimes I think a bit surprising in this genre of music. And, I'm just kind of curious, kind of walk us through the headspace of kind of going into the writing and recording process, especially since I believe you guys self-recorded this one entirely.
Well, so this was the first record that we worked with a producer on.
Oh, okay.
We have a studio in the house that we record vocals and guitars and everything else, but drums we did in New Jersey. But this is I think, the most that we've ever ignored the entire music scene and just kind of like did our own thing,
But I mean, I've always just kind of done my own thing, but I think Sean listens to a lot of music, and what he does a lot of times is informed by other things. Me, I'm just kind of own it in my own little world. Um, but what I do is informed by what he does, right? So usually how it works is he'll write a riff and I'll kind of write a vocal sketch over top of it. So it's been definitely kind of a coming of age, to make this a Victorian romantic drama here, but kind of a coming of age where we've kind of now we know exactly the things that we want, the things that we don't want, and then we can kind of whittle it down a little bit faster than previously, and also we are more specific with exactly where we want this to go.
Yeah, I knew that. Like one of the first things I said to the producer was like, which was scary just to work with anybody on the outside. but it ended up being awesome. I was like, I want this record to sound like it came from like the late 90s, early 2000s, like real drums,
Mhm.
mistakes. It doesn't sound like a laptop made it. Like I just want it to feel like the music that sort of inspired me growing up because I don't really get inspired by like laptops clicking at me. Like I need
Yeah.
like dudes and aggression coming out like from the heaviness of it. And then, with the the producer also, I think that like he got a lot out of Gwen. Like, like
Mhm.
he didn't really push her to do a lot. Like we just did what we normally do, but like just with him sort of mixing it and our hands off of it, that was super exciting for us because
Yeah,
there's a lot that he pulled out of us, I think.
he definitely kicked us up a notch.
Yeah.
So we're very appreciative to Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron Chaparian. Go Aaron.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you brought up sort of the sonic quality of the record because it is so true. Like it feels so warm and massive, like this music. And it's like, it's obviously real guitar amps, it's real drums. It's not a bunch of drum triggers and a bunch of fake stuff like that. And I'm kind of curious, like, what were some of those records that, you were kind of, sort of referring back to during this time?
So it's not going to be cool answers. It's just going to be real answers. Like,
Sure.
so there's a couple POD songs that like
Okay.
I don't really subscribe to like the whole, the religious side of POD, but sonically, there's a lot of, especially with the bass, like that dude uses David Eden heads and I use the David Eden on this record. It reaches lower than a lot of stuff. I think around that same time, like there's just drum sounds that I thought were super sweet that sound polished and huge, but they're not fake, and you can hear that the snare is not the same snare every time it hits and stuff like that. So, guitar tones like Crowbar, that kind of stuff. There's a little bit of sleep, in there, but Neurosis was a big deal, I think, like, and I think that continues to be something that we're both really stoked on is like, just hearing that aggression and just
Mhm.
how insane that is and trying to bring that under anything that Gwen does. So I'd say, yeah, like Neurosis, that oddly that POD record, and then
Yeah.
some other
I mean,
stuff.
that's so. Oh, we got a cat cameo right
Yeah,
there.
Oh,
What do we
we
got
love
here?
kitties.
This is Gwen's
Beautiful.
favorite. This is Uriel.
Aw.
Oh, I'm a big cat lady, so I will stop anything, even in the middle of a podcast for a cat.
That's Gwen's favorite.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Oh,
so cute. No, I love that because, like, yeah, you would think, Neurosis or Sleep or those influence, but you bring up that POD album and it's like, I believe that was like a Howard Benson record. And like, he's known for those huge, slick rock records. And
It just sounds freaking sweet. Like and
yeah,
I'll play it in my car. Like Youth of the Nation. I don't know. That's a sweet song. Like
it
it's a
is
great
that
song.
it's a banger of a song. I
And it
agree.
like could not ring more true like today with everything. Like, it's just like,
Yeah,
damn, man, that is wow. That's mind blowing. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. That's
that's
right.
definitely like our era. Like I'm 31. I remember, I think Satellite was probably one of the first CDs I bought, probably in
Yeah,
like
it is.
first grade. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
incredible, man.
But and like we both like Limp Bizkit a lot, like for some of the funniness of it, but also like Wes Borland is just fucking sick, and it's like
Yeah.
rhythm over riffs, and that's kind of like what we do is like it's more vibes and less like notes per square inch, and so like we jam that shit out. Like if we go out to on a date, sometimes we're playing like rolling in the car. Like, she
That's
knows more of the words than I do. Like oh yeah, like she's doing all the stuff over here. Like it's great. So yeah, that's a lot of the inspiration comes from what got us stoked early on with heavy music.
That's so cool. Yeah, I want to kind of touch on the lyrical side too, sort of like some of the unifying messages and emotional threads throughout this album. Like, I remember reading the press release for Walking Wounded, and then you include that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie quote, critiquing like patriarchy and like the disenfranchisement of women in society. I'm kind of curious, like, what was it sort of like channeling such like a bold critique in your music? And, why did it feel so important to put that message out now? And, what are some of those other broader topics you're also trying to explore? Because I know like on tracks like Heretics, you're also really tackling, the subject of like rejecting religious dogma and but also offering this really, positive and empowering and unifying message at the same time, showing that like, morality doesn't need to be tied to like dogma. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think with a lot of my lyrics, I usually explore, I say frailties of the heart and frailties of the mind. Um, I think it's really important for me to, like, for me, it's therapy, and I work things through by writing it out and, um, you know, leaving it on the paper, as it were. Um, but I think the feminism part, it's one of those things that it's just natural to me. And as someone who is so, enveloped in that, I don't really understand how someone couldn't be.
Hmm.
Of course, in the environment that we're in right now in the United States, it's not very friendly towards women. I think it was important to say something now because of everything that's going on. Um, but like you said, everything that I try to touch on, even though they are kind of sensitive or darker, quote unquote, subjects,
Hmm.
it's always really important for me to have a positive outcome. Like, these things will pass. Every day runs out of light, every night runs out of pain.
Hmm.
So, we can get past these things. And it's important for me to include that because I want you to feel these things, and we'll share in them, but then, you can visit, but you can't live there. So
Mm.
kind of an important.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gwen's very prone to help. So that's going to be in all the, no matter how dark the song gets, there's going to be some of that in there.
There's going to be some light.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
that, the balance of both, and that kind of segues perfectly into my next question, Gwen, as a woman fronting band in the heavier music space, what do you feel like the scene could do better to empower women in more non-traditional voices? On the other hand, what progress have you seen? And, what example kind of do you hope to set for like the next generation of like women who want to be in a band or want to sing?
Yeah, I think it's really important for me to portray a very strong female personality, character. I think it's also really important for me to personalize and characterize both the dark and the light, that you can be both. You can have that juxtaposition, and that just makes you who you are. It just makes you human. Everybody has good and bad in them. Um, as far as the female in music, and I always say, perhaps I was extremely lucky, or perhaps I am just ignorant of what happens around me. I think it's probably more the second, that I never really noticed people, well, thinking back now, most of the time I don't think people really talk down to me, but at the same time, I'm so introverted, and when we do a show, it's usually Sean talking to people on behalf of me, and I'm kind of hiding in a corner. Um, so that perhaps allow me to bypass a lot of that sexism. I have heard horror stories from other people that were, that are in bands where, they told them to get off the stage. You're just the girlfriend, get off the stage, kind of thing. And to me, that is just like, it just doesn't register. I just can't even fathom how someone could be that ignorant.
I
But
think it's probably how you carry yourself too, though. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when you do talk to people, you're like, I don't know, or maybe it's just the way I see you. I'm just like, you're this special thing, so I don't want to.
he's my
Oh,
husband.
Yeah, so
oh, I'm
that's like
not.
next I have. But like you carry yourself in a way that doesn't, I think, open you up to fucking dickheads saying weird shit. You know?
That's true. I do have a fuck off face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yes, I do think that there is something to be said about that, because I am similar. I've been told that I definitely have an RBF,
RBF.
resting bitch face. Yeah. And obviously, Gwen, I have been around you in person, and you do have a really great energy, but I also feel certain people, artists specifically, and I think I have it, and I definitely feel like you have it because I have been around you in person. You're very kind, but you definitely have like a protective energy. Like I feel like there is that, like, you're a very kind person, but it's clear that you are protective of your energy. And I think maybe that kind of repels people who are going to do bullshit, like your energy just sends that away. And that's something I practice in my life, and sometimes maybe a little bit to another way of detriment, where I've been told I'm a little intense, or people get scared to approach me, and I'm like, I'm super nice, but I do have an intense energy. And I think part of it is like, I'm an Aquarius. I just don't want to be messed with, and I'm very protective of my energy. And I feel like some women, thankfully, have been able to really hone that. And I feel like when I was around you, that's something where you are like, you're very aware of your energy and protective of it, which I also think is something that very admirable, that more women, I hope, get to become more, comfortable with themselves and stand up for their own energy.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. I think that is very true. And, again, yeah, don't fuck with me face, but that's also an attitude. Like I will
Yeah.
be as nice as everything to you, but if you try to fuck with me, then you're going to get that energy back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, women have been told to stay small and to stay kind of obedient. And so, a lot of women don't protect their energy, like you said,
Yeah.
as perhaps you or I do. So, I think it's really important to get a message out there for ladies to not, but anybody really, to not
Mm-hmm.
make yourself small, to live as big as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think guys could do that
Oh,
too, right? Like you could blow it on the first conversation and show the wrong energy, and then you're gonna get taken advantage of by like a pack of dogs. You know what I mean? Like it happens
It's
the same
true.
way. But I think just girls have to be more mindful of it, probably. I would say.
Well, the stakes are higher,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
Yeah, stakes are higher, and I do feel like women perpetually are taught, especially those, like, I grew up in a religious household, so there is an energy of being smaller, of being under, is the way I like to think of it, under, and conditioning yourself to think that, and then being like, finally getting to a point where you're like, no, like, you don't have to be the most aggressive. You can be an introverted person, but you can still stand up for yourself and have that energy of like, yeah, I'm not vibing with you. And I think that, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and like repel that, a little return to sender energy right there, and kind of like take yourself out of it. But yeah, kind of segueing into my next, talking about like energy and all of our woo-woo stuff, occult imagery and themes are obviously a very big part of Frayle's identity. What I would love to know, because that's what, drew me in, the music and, your aesthetic way back when I found you guys, what inspires you in that realm, especially with the new album, and kind of what role does it play in your day-to-day life in addition to your music?
So spirituality, is what I like to call it. I think it's extremely important to me. Every single day, and several times a day, I use it. I call upon my greater power. I believe that we're all gods. I think that we are all gods walking on this earth. And when, it also made me think about like, what is God, right? Like, is God a guy in the sky sitting in the clouds? Is he collective subconscious? Is he, what is he? Is he just an idea or an ideal that we should strive for? And I think, if you look at it practically, the thought that he is, or it is an ideal to strive for, right? Like, at your best, you are God, right? You have all this energy within you. You can push it out. You can pull it in. I think it just is so important for me on a day to day, because the modalities of just day to day life, and if you can, I have prayed for a parking space. I have
Yeah.
prayed to save lives. So it's like, and these things are just, each is, well, each carries whatever weight that you put behind them, right? So I think, to me, it's a huge part of who I am. And because of that, it couldn't help but find its way into the music, into the lyrics, into, the aesthetic even is just kind of part and parcel of who I am.
And I think that like we both have the same background. Like we both went to fashion school. We both had brands. We both have our own store. We've worked together building brands for other people. So we don't feel like a project is done unless, because music is about like a blank canvas and what you're trying to do, what we try to do is get this authentic emotion out onto like the canvas or like, the recording. And then there's still a part of us as designers that visually needs to do that too. Like we're not done expressing ourselves just through the music. So visually, how do we portray all those things that she just talked about? And like, for me, it's I'm always playing music because I just want pain to go away, right? So it's like how do I visually portray that? Through the outfits. And Gwen's been doing her thing since we started, and then people would tell us, oh, Sean, you need to lose the baseball hat and fucking wear this hat or do something else. And I'm like, it never felt right because I'm like, my background's hard rock and it was just about Midwest integrity, pureness. Like there was no stage show, right? And like when I first started, I thought I was intimidated by that stuff. I would tell people I think it's stupid, but it's because I was intimidated by it because I couldn't express myself that way, so I didn't know how to do that. So but as we grew as a band and watching her evolve and being, I'm all like, we shoot our own videos and do our own photos and everything. So I'm always, shooting her and watching this evolve and editing these photos. I'm like, man, like, how do I fit in? Like, what is going to feel right for me without like forcing it or anything? And then so like this record now, like we tried putting masks on and stuff. And, right before that, we would start playing shows and we'd start doing like hoods and a little bit of like makeup and stuff. And I actually had so much more fun doing that shit. So I was like, this is like making music exciting and shows exciting again for me. And so these masks and stuff allow me, like, I'm super nervous in front of a camera. Like, we did a photo shoot with Jeremy Safra a while ago, and he's like pro photographer. And
we love Jeremy. He's the
Yeah.
best.
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing,
yeah.
right?
We've had him on this podcast. He's the best.
He's so good. He does this thing with his eyebrow where like one eyebrow lifts up and like he's like this and his eyebrow. And it's like it's amazing. But anyway, so he was like, Sean, get in front of the camera, and he's like, I lasted like a minute, and he's like, okay, next. And I was like, I knew that's because I fucking sucked at it. And so like I was working on this mask stuff, and we have like a whole sewing factory in our basement. So I made them out of fabric, and then we got in touch with I knew those weren't going to last, so we got in touch with a real mask maker, and he did it. And then she took pictures of me, and I was finally confident in front of the camera, just like testing out, like, what is this going to look like? And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I have a lot of fun with this. So now it feels like more complete because we're able to like, she's always been able to sort of express herself, visually as well. But now, like, I feel like the band is able to do that too and support her. And then we're all the same because we just want to sort of be this aggression that she floats on top of. But like, it's never as important as the music is always number one because without it we wouldn't be doing that. But like it feels right, and I guess that's what this whole record is just whatever feels right to us. We're just going with that and just getting out of each other's way creatively and saying, okay, yeah, I'm into this, and letting that happen. And that's kind of where we are now. But she fucking started it because
But I
It's so
think
cool.
it was important for us to create like an entire world instead of just, music or songs. We wanted to create a world that you could become part of and lose yourself in for, 45 minutes or an hour, however long the record is. And it's part and parcel of what we like to do and what the whole project is about.
Yeah, like when I think about like growing up and delivering pizza or do whatever the fuck I was doing in my car and listening to music and being super sad and single and whatever you do when you're young, you know what I mean? Like music was like would take things away, like and make it better. And I think now because we have cell phones and all this stuff that's just constantly hitting you in the face, like sometimes I feel like I am attracted more to these bands that have this universe because it takes a little more to go away, and like Chelsea
Yeah.
Wolfe did that for me. And not that they have costumes and stuff, but there's like I almost like maybe invent that there's a world that that here
No, there definitely is. Yeah.
and so that I think becomes something that I'm more interested in, and it pulls me into that. And I think that that's part of what it is too. And that might be why people are responding well to us, because it is a place for them to go and hopefully escape all the constant bullshit that you got to deal with.
I will say this is piggybacking, but also random. When you're saying like escape, A, I didn't know you both have fashion design degrees. That's really cool. B, your Skin and Sorrow album is actually an album that I put on a lot when I'm designing. So I wanted to put that out
Whoa.
there. Yeah,
Very
that
cool.
album for me, it's just something, the music, the vocals that I can kind of just turn my mind off because that's the hardest time. I prefer to design at night when, the everyone's gone out of the office and I get to sit in here, turn the lights off. And that's one album that I put on because it just kind of gets me to quiet my mind. And I enter whatever world or theme you guys were on in that album. And I just kind of like go. And I was like, I have to bring that up to them now, knowing that you both too have design backgrounds. And I obviously know, Gwen's stage ensembles are like amazing. And I was like, I have to tell them that album for me is like one of my go-tos when I'm designing. So
Dude, that's
amazing.
I know that's one
of my favorite things.
Aw,
for real. Like that's a big deal for us.
Thank you.
Wow.
that's so cool. Kind of shifting gears a bit. Obviously, we have to chat about Summertime Sadness, as a cover on this record. Really curious, how you sort of went about reshaping it into, Frayle's musical world. But I'm also curious, like, do you think Lana has heard it? And if so,
I think yes. I think I found out today she has.
How did you find it?
wow.
So we have like some rock and roll friends, and one of them made a joke on Facebook a couple weeks ago about, when we released that song. And just today he was like, oh, hey, by the way, she heard it and she was very flattered. And I need proof before I just go on, so I was like, Pixar, it didn't happen. So I'm still trying to dig, but that's the initial feedback is that I know that her fan club in South America approves.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
We love her. She's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
She's incredible.
we knew we really enjoy doing covers because it's like almost like an art project for us that's different than, making the normal songs. And it's kind of like when you design like a collab, right? Like there's some other input that's going into what you're doing and it's a little different. It's adjacent, but it's still you coming out. But it's like a little different challenge and it changes things up. So we knew we wanted to do a cover on this record again. We tried a couple different songs that, like one of them was Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, which I still have hope for someday because my dream was to see like
Right.
doom couples holding each other and swaying in the crowd while we're singing this.
Yeah.
Like fuck a circle pit. I want like love sways going on.
Oh.
But it just didn't like. Gwen has a rule that like she's the riff crusher. She'll come upstairs and she'll be like, it's not heavy enough or it's not spooky enough. And she's mostly right. I don't want to say always right. Mostly right about that. So I was trying the Cyndi Lauper shit and it just wasn't working. Then there's another song that I really wanted to do and it was like we couldn't really get it there. And then we tried Summertime and it just all fell into place. Like it was like right away. And then but the music for the verse was like I was trying to stick to the original song.
It wasn't working.
It wasn't like spooky or heavy. So she went like on an errand or something like that and I like muted everything except the drums and her and I just played whatever I wanted to and it was a completely different key and all this different stuff but I texted to her
notes. Yeah. I was like that.
She was like, do that.
That's it.
So then it fell into play. And then that was the first song that we got back from Aaron mixed because we work in Logic, which is a recording software, but he works in Pro Tools. And so we had to do the record in Pro Tools, which we don't fucking know how to use Pro Tools. And it was really frustrating. I couldn't make a quick mix on it. And I was just like, fuck this. We're going to track it. So it is what it is. We'll see what it sounds like when it comes back. And so he sent us back the first half of Summertime. And he put that there's like a pause before the first chorus that wasn't there. He did that. Aaron, the producer, did that. And I heard that pause and I heard how good it sounded in her. And I literally cried a little. And I called him up and I was like, you take the keys. You're driving from here on out. Like, we're just going to like listen to what you have and critique it. But like you do the heavy lifting. So when we heard that, we were like, this is it. This is amazing.
That's when we knew we chose the right producer because he's been amazing. And just those. Sean was reticent to let anybody else in for like because he did most of the producing previously. I'm always interested in other people's opinions and taking
except mine,
except for his. that's marriage.
Yeah, I was like literally about to say that's just married life. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when he would give suggestions, we would very seriously listen to it. And just like the little touches and the way that he did my voice, and it was incredible. And I don't think we'd ever make a record without him.
Yeah, I'd like to use him moving forward. And I talk to him all the time when, still that when a single comes out, I'm like, hey, it's finally out, you can release it, and we joke around. But like, yeah, summertime it just fell into place. Like it was so easy, and it felt right. And like I really like playing that song live now. Like I saw like we couldn't when we went to Europe, we couldn't play it for the first two shows because it didn't come out yet. And we were told like you should not play a new song live until it comes out, because if people video now in today's world, everyone's going to film
Yeah.
it. You don't want that to be the first time that someone sees it. You want the
Mhm.
first time to be this, and then everything else is based off of that, and it makes total sense. That's how our management team is awesome. So we had to hold it back, but then when we finally did it, I remember we were at a Bloodstock, which is like a bigger festival in UK, and I saw people down front being like, "Oh, this is the band that does that." You know what I mean? Like it's like linking people, like they got it, and then there's people singing and doing this kind of stuff. It was pretty awesome.
It's so cool.
It's
I,
amazing.
I was gonna make a joke and say, can we expect a POD cover at some point?
Don't count it out. Don't count it out.
Could you imagine?
It's a butler. I just wish their messaging was different, because I
I
love it.
know.
But I
Yeah.
can't do it. I still love them, but yeah, like probably not.
No, definitely not. No, and that was kind of my next question was, you mentioned the European headline tour. What were some of those highlights? Like obviously you mentioned, playing the cover was a really exciting moment, but just obviously Europe has such like an incredible energy for heavy music, especially music of the style that you guys play. How did the energy of those shows kind of, shape your perspective kind of leading into this next chapter of the band?
Well,
Yeah.
go.
Well, I think that it's kind of, there were two kind of different kinds of energy. So like when we played a lot of festivals, I think we played like 4 or 5 festivals, and that energy is more like of a crowd energy, and everybody's uplifted and a little drunk or
Yeah.
whatever, and so that's a totally different energy, and it seems like everything is kind of like just this one ball and it's moving as a
Yeah.
mass. When you do like the smaller shows, that's more each individual person, you can individuate their emotions and their different energies, and it's kind of, it was really kind of cool going back and forth between those two. And I think that was really cool. We did play some really intimate shows, which was awesome.
Yeah, we played in Hamburg. We played in an old Nazi bunker.
Whoa.
But they had, like the building is too gnarly for them to tear down, so they just left it up and built a hotel, and now there's venues in it. And so like you're literally like the venue that has windows that were like kill windows.
Oh my God.
That's gnarly.
Crazy.
Crazy.
So it was pretty
Damn.
cool to play those plays. But so Gwen's right though. It's like the festivals are like it kind of moves as one. You see some people on the sides doing their own thing, but mostly it's like one thing. And then the individual shows, like different people are getting different things out of it. So it's cool to like understand like what's going on and how that dynamic is different. Also, what Europeans do that Americans probably never do unless they're on acid is like they will just take a couple steps forward and forget about everyone else and do whatever they want to do. So there'll be like one random girl headbanging while there's just two dudes standing here, and no one's making fun of her or doing like everyone's doing their own thing. I feel like in the US that wouldn't go down. Like everyone just has this little bit more of like music as a release for them. They're hungry for new things, and it's just awesome to see how that changes. And then one of the highlights for me was we played this festival Alcatraz, and every festival set up differently. Every backstage is different, and this one it was like just the where the bands hung out was all this giant area. So it's like us and Ministry and like just all these other bands that we grew up like loving. And with the masks on, I was emboldened to just walk into dressing rooms, and like I went into Wednesday 13s. I was like, "Where's that guy called Wednesday?"
Oh, hell yeah.
And I would never do that like as this guy, but like mask guy was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going everywhere. So like we had a lot of fun with that.
You met
Yeah, from Snot, like Snot, this band, like this 90s,
Yeah.
like so they were there, and I like walked past the door just when Mikey was coming out, and I was like, dude, like in the box is like one of my favorite songs ever. And he's like, we just kept running into each other all day.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so by the end of the day, he was like literally trying to get our drummer to go watch Mastodon in a VIP box. We had to bounce to UK, but like it was just like
It was
amazing.
amazing.
And then I guess my point was that like we had like press liaisons at these festivals that would meet us and then walk us around, and that was a first for us. And like Gwen had fucking photo shoots set up for her, and like it was like it felt like the rock and roll dream. Like it was pretty cool.
You felt like the president, like they'd lean in your, this is Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was sweet. And then you got this like we were just walking around masks, like her little entourage, like following. It was sweet.
That's so cool. I love that. Also, we love Wednesday 13 on this show
Yeah.
as well too.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a cool
he's been
guy.
a guest on the show as well. Coolest guy.
Yeah,
That's so awesome. God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's a dream of mine to take Pretty Cult. We've been at Australian Festival, but we haven't done Europe yet. And like Hellfest and stuff is like a dream of mine. So hopefully one day we will make it over there.
Ooh, it's huge, and it's the energy is amazing. I mean, we saw you guys at Incarceration. It's like the energy times like 2 or 3, right? It's just like it's a totally different thing over there.
And I'm almost, speaking of your guys' show, I've seen you at a festival, so I want to see you at more of an intimate, like, club show now. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
We like to ask this question, and I feel like, especially for your guys' kind of music, I'm really interested to hear what your answer might be with how haunting and cinematic, Frayle is. If you had a chance to score a film, past or present, what would be a dream for you guys?
So we talk about this a lot, like just the scoring films, and we always thought we wanted to make a film and score it and have like different, or we played with ideas for like the videos for this album, but it just didn't come into fruition, perhaps for the next ones. But
yeah, a movie though, man, that's gnarly.
Right. It would have to be a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, The Shining would be any of the old, really like the classics, Shining, Poltergeist, Omen.
So I have this weird thing with King Kong. Like,
Okay.
See, I feel so personally let down.
give me a second. Give me a second. I knew that you were going to say that, but if you watch the one from the 80s, when they're coming in the boat through the fog.
The puppet, yeah, the puppet.
And don't worry about that shit. Just the vibe that the fog and this music made for that part. Like, maybe I'm just inspired by that. I don't want to score King Kong. That's actually the wrong movie. I'm just going to shut up now.
No.
I could see, I don't know, I'm just going to inject my own opinion here. I could see your guys' music in like Hereditary.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite newer, obviously, horror movies. And some of those just really bizarre scenes, I could hear you guys.
How about anything that Robert Eggers does moving forward?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or that. Yeah.
Do you love me again?
Yeah.
Okay. That dude, God, what a ride that guy's on, man. Like, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah. And that's anything that man puts out, I definitely make sure I see.
dude, it's so sick. Yeah, that would be sick to work with that dude. I think that would be the dream. I think not King Kong, Robert Eggers.
Take a step back and
Yeah.
If that movie ever comes on, you see that fog shit in the middle, you'd be like, that's what he was talking about. That's heavy as fuck.
Yeah. Hey, you know what though? Also, if there's a King Kong remake and they want to use one of your guys' songs, I hope that for you.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
yeah, we're there.
Maybe King Kong will live this time.
Maybe that would be one of the sticking points.
Yeah, that's a caveat for her. No harming of animals, real or fake.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. That's also fair. Yes.
True.
Yes. Just kind of wrapping it up here, with Heretics and Lullabies on the horizon, what can kind of fans, you kind of alluded earlier, maybe something soon with touring, but what can we look forward to in the rest of 2025 and beyond?
Well, you have another single coming out right before
We had Heretic come out
last week.
week,
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have another one.
October 7th.
Yeah, and the record's the 10th, which we're stoked on. And then I think we're going to shoot 2 more videos just because, we shoot them ourselves and we have these ideas that we just feel like need to be born. And we also have, there's 2 songs on the record that like are our personal favorites and they're different. So we're kind of like doing this. So we have to shoot videos for both of those.
Also, we're going to be playing Tennessee Metal Devastation Festival on the 11th, so the day after the
cool.
album comes out.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked about that one.
And then there are things in the works, but again, like he said, it's kind of difficult, and we usually find out about these things kind of last minute. So nothing confirmed beyond the metal devastation.
Yeah, it's a lot of conversations and a lot of like dream stuff, but like you never know
For
it
sure.
happens, right?
Sure. Well, we'll just have to follow along and turn on those post notifications. So when it does announce, we're all across it.